Welcome to St. Augustine this evening. I've been here for minutes, hours, whatever.
Oh, what happened to your throat?
I don't know. I was going for that husky voice, but I don't have that either. I just have it really worn out. I feel better than yesterday, but I sound worse than yesterday. So hopefully tomorrow I'll sound better and feel better. It's just a head cold. So I keep telling Levi that. You won't need many shots for it after you sit next to me. It'll be okay. We'll see. I don't know what it is. It's just.
Have you been to China recently?
No, I have not handled a pigeon or eaten a pigon out of New York City either.
Emergency.
Did you see the pigeon vendor? He picked There's a guy that had a street vendor, and they saw him catch a pigeon. And they don't know what he did with it, and it's like.
I thought you were talking about Mike Tyson.
No, I was like, man, that tastes like chicken.
Yeah, he's a pigeon. Yeah, it's like his hobby.
I thought he had a tiger.
No, he's pigeons.
No, I swear he has a tiger. I've seen the documentary.
He did have the tiger, but no, he's obsessed with pigeons. That's his thing for his entire life since he was a boy.
I was a pigeon, and Mike Tyson caught me. I'd probably have a heart attack. It's like, oh yeah, Mike Tyson's got me. But they don't have ears, so they're probably safe.
Yeah, probably.
So you got to think about it. Amanda had to think about it. Amanda had to think about that. All right, let's make some money. Let's get everybody. We got Levi here. We got Amanda here. It's our normal Wednesday show that hasn't been a normal Wednesday show since I can't remember when.
It's been about a month and a half.
When's the last Wednesday were you in here?
The Wednesday right before Thanksgiving.
That's 2 months.
2 months. Yeah.
We have missed you.
I've missed being here.
There's not been a single young person besides Blake on this show.
I'm so excited. I told Amanda walking in that I'm so excited to be back. Been looking forward to it for the past 2 weeks.
We have had, and there's all kinds of sports ball to talk about.
We can leave that out.
No, we just do a little bit of sports ball. Amanda might need a break in the middle of the show. We'll do a little sports ball.
Get a little nap. A pigeon handler, a pigeon breeder is called a pigeon fancier. I don't think that's a good name.
I don't think it's a good name either. There's so many wrong things that I could go with.
There is nothing fancy about a pigeon.
About keeping birds in
No, there's nothing. We had one of our sons wanted a bird, and we rarely told them no on things that were like, well, it's just a pet. It won't be a big deal. The bird, we're like, this bird will live with us for 20 years after you leave for college. The answer is no. The answer is no.
I had a bird when I was younger. It's a crazy story.
My son wanted a bird, and my mother-in-law breeds turkeys. And so, unbeknownst to me, she brought an assortment of turkeys to my house and a cage and water container and food container, the whole 9 yards. Brought it up, so I got home from work, and my kids met me in the driveway saying, "We've got a parakeet. Dad said it's okay." And I was like, "Oh, did he now?" Interesting story.
What did you do to your mother-in-law again? Explain to me.
Nothing. I gave her grandchildren.
Didn't you take her on the trip to South America?
Peru, yeah. And she got back.
But wait a minute. I was going to ask. You did bring her back, right?
Yeah,
okay. All right. Okay.
They're saying they can't hear me, so I'm going to go make sure.
All right. You go make sure. I'm going to do an ad read. We'll get all this stuff done, and then we'll catch up. All right. A to Z, they offer free estimates and have been serving St. Johns County for over 20 years. A to Z Roofing and Waterproofing offers painted metal roofs for saltwater area homes with warranties up to 25 years. They have shingle roofs with warranties up to 50 years. A to Z also installs tile roofing, cedar shake shingles, designer roofing, and flat roof coverings. You don't know how hard that was to say in my current state. Give Chuck McCone a call, 904-669-8037. A to Z Roofing and Waterproofing. They can help you with your new roof or repairs. They're absolutely wonderful and amazing.
They are. Another team that's wonderful is the team at South State Bank. They're a group of bankers you can count on. Their approach to building long-term relationships with their customers is the best in the business. If you're looking for a banking relationship you can depend on, check out South State Bank. They've got 3 locations to serve you in St. Augustine: State Road 312, State Road 16, or the beach. You can also visit them online on their website at southstatebank.com. They are a member FDIC. Bozard Ford Lincoln in St. Augustine, their goal is to make sure your time and experience buying a car is stress-free, fun, and enjoyable. Bozard is a family-owned Ford dealership that's been in business since 1949. Bozard Ford Lincoln has been the recipient of numerous dealer awards, including being ranked #1 automotive dealership in the nation by Dealer Rater. Bozard Ford has also won back-to-back President's Awards, which is the highest honor given by Ford Motor Company. Check them out today online at bozardford.com or head on down there and have dinner with Bo and Letty at Ford's Garage. Have the Jiffy Burger.
All right, and let's step into the world of support and healing with Epic Behavioral Healthcare. For over 50 years, Epic has been a beacon of hope for our community, providing compassionate care for those touched by substance use and mental health disorders. Whether you're a kid, teen, adult, couple, family, Epic is here to lend a helping hand for basically everybody. With a range of programs tailored to meet diverse needs, Epic offers accessible solutions for everyone, from their walk-in access center to their mobile response team. From inpatient detoxification to outpatient counseling, Epic provides comprehensive care every step of the way. Their services include psychiatric evaluations, medication management, medication-assisted treatment, care coordination, peer support, suicide prevention, training, parenting, education, and much, much more. Give them a call. Epic, they will help you out. They won't judge you, but they will help you. They want to help you and your family. So please give them a call. They do great work. They've been doing it for over 50 years. Epic.
Yes. Amazing.
Awesome, amazing people. I have a meeting with some of them tomorrow
Very cool.
about buildings.
They're going to be on the show soon.
I know. I love them.
Yeah,
They're awesome
they're
when they come on the
fantastic.
show.
Yeah.
Only Davey would be into interviews. It would be so much more fun. All right. All kinds of things going on in the world today.
Absolutely.
We have the fires out in LA, which I was just out there. And Southern Cal is beautiful. It's dry. The weather's perfect. But when they get
Dry
these
is a
winds and these
problem.
fires, it is a problem. And apparently they had rain the last couple of years, which only increased the growth of the brush,
Yeah.
which just made a bigger kind of gave the fire more
Tinderbox?
tinderbox, gave it a little bit more firewood to work with. Horrible if you're living in the situation.
Yeah.
And there's so many people out there crowded into such a condensed, tight area. We were at Malibu. We were at all the areas that these fires are going on. It took us to drive 10 miles one day, like 45 minutes to an hour and a half.
Good
I mean,
gracious.
it was just
Bad.
it
That's
was
like
just-
Nights of Lights.
Oh no, it was better than Nights of Lights. It was better.
It
than
makes Nights of Lights look like you're on an open freeway.
All right.
So it's bad
Yeah,
out there.
It really does. It really, really does. And I also I had a planning and zoning meeting yesterday. Lots of comments about traffic in that meeting. You can go back and watch. It's 7 hours and 15 minutes if you can't sleep tonight. And there were some comments by people afterwards that the Nights of Lights this year was the worst that it has ever been. So I'll be
What
curious
does
to see.
worst mean?
The most traffic,
Okay.
the most people, the most congestion. And so I think that it will be
That's
interesting.
funny because I read that tourism was down and people in the tourism board were panicking. And so everyone's saying that traffic is the worst, but then they say that tourism's down.
I will say that tourism has been down because there were times of the year that going home after work, I go right through the downtown most days, it was a piece of cake. There was no traffic. So I will tell you tourism was down during the week. On the weekend, I think tourism was pretty busy if you were in the city of St. Augustine.
Yep.
And obviously for the special events, the Sing Out Loud concerts and Nights of Lights, it's been crazy.
Yeah.
Nights of Lights it was literally like having 60 4th of Julys in a row. That's what it's like every night.
Yeah.
So I love the tourists, but there's got to be a balance between residents and tourists, and we have to figure this out a little bit better. Because there's been times you go downtown and there's too many people. I mean, I don't know what too many is. I don't know what that number is, but there's just been too many people.
Yeah.
We got to figure out a way to balance it.
Yeah. I mean, when I had to work our church's Christmas Eve services, and when I was planning my day to get there, I planned an hour to get a drive that on Sunday morning takes me 8 minutes.
So usually like that hour, what you're talking about, that's like from the first light into the city to the second light in the city. So you just did not allocate enough time.
Well, I did. I got there and I got parking. So an hour was enough time. But in previous years, because I had to go in earlier than previously expected. And so it was like before 3 when I was driving or when I started my drive. So like at that point, traffic wasn't terrible. But in previous years, when I've been trying to get there for like a 5 p.m. service, driving after 3:30, it's insane. It's on and any day, much less Christmas Eve, but it's especially bad on Christmas Eve.
I don't know. Did you come downtown at all?
I did.
You fool.
I was
So
in
your
there for,
girlfriend wanted to come downtown.
yeah, correct. For New Year's Eve. It's the first New Year's we've had in St. Augustine since we've been together. So she wanted to go downtown for New Year's Eve. Yeah, it was terrible. I ended up parking, actually. I'll tell you off air because I don't want to share my local secret spots.
I don't want to
everyone.
know. I don't want to know because if you tell me I'll be in it and then you'll pull up your car, why are you in my spot?
No, there's
I'm
plenty.
not telling you any of mine.
Okay, I'm not telling you mine either.
No, that's a trade secret.
I had
no.
to go down like 3 secret spots in.
Why do I feel like this is the parking equivalent of a dick measuring contest?
No, it's not.
I had to go like
No,
3 secret
no.
spots in, but like,
No.
I mean, I've been here since, I was born and raised here. So there are local secret spots downtown.
Not all of us have a sign that says Trinity Church, Trinity Episcopal,
Yeah.
and then you could just pull into their parking lot.
Yeah, we don't have
So
that.
I
some
can
of
tell
us
you how to
have
get
work.
that sticker.
You can join the church and you can pay. And
Yep.
it's a very easy process. And I've always been lucky because we do work at some of the churches. I usually have the stickers for multiple churches.
Uh-huh.
So people look at me like, are you just like multi-denominational? Because I'm reading all the stickers on the back. But those churches are great. They let us park there. They're wonderful, but try not to take advantage of that as well. So, but no, it's there. You have to have your secret spots. And there's a few, the Sisters of St. Joseph's was a great parking lot for a long time. And then we helped renovate that parking lot and put crossbars on it and all the other things. So I know the code to get in, but I refuse to cross the Sisters of St. Joseph. I think that Sister Carol would come out and just whack me
She would.
with a ruler, a really long, wide ruler.
She threatened me with a ruler a couple times in high school.
And you were about 6 feet taller than her.
Yeah,
And she could have taken you at any minute.
100%.
She was tough. Sister
Wow.
Carol. No one messed with Sister Carol.
I don't know, Sister Carol.
Yeah, she was the art teacher. No one messed with her. She was the coolest. She was our
The
homeroom
art
teacher.
teacher was the mean one?
Yes.
That never happens.
Yeah,
By the time I got there, she wasn't a teacher, but she was walking around with the ruler still.
yeah. You do not mess. Just
She's
no,
just there
She
so
was
that
the
she
hall-
can get her,
she was the hall
her
monitor.
quota of,
Yeah.
of child beatings in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it wasn't child beatings. It was child retribution.
All right.
And wasn't. And there's nothing right. Just that's the way that discipline was doled out back then, and some of us
Just
survived
desserts.
And still should be doled out that way
it.
today.
I survived spankings.
Mm-hmm.
I will spank my children, and it's,
So we started out spanking our kids until we realized like it didn't matter. Like we could spank them all day.
oh, really?
And-
I was terrified of spankings.
And like they didn't care. I don't know if they have something wrong with their feelers or something, but they didn't care. And so
They just
but
got a good
putting
dose
them-
of Amanda jeans.
putting them in timeout was like a total nightmare for them. And so I always kind of laughed at the timeout parents when I was, a perfect parent before I had kids. But once I had children and my children just did not respond to spankings at all. They didn't care. You could go, they would go hit for hit with you. Like it didn't matter. So we ended up doing timeouts because that was like the end of their world.
The new thing today is you take their phone away from them.
Yeah, that's the new
that's
thing.
like the most diabolical. That is worse than any spanking you could get, any grounding, any timeout. You cannot have any contact with your friends or know what they're doing. And that got their attention more than anything else. Which
My kids don't even
tells you how
have
bad
their
they are.
own phones. But even so, if they lose their turn on the communal phone, then that's the end. Yeah, you're right.
we have the communal phone.
Yeah.
It's called a home phone.
We have that too.
You guys still have a home phone?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
So you know why?
I don't anymore.
I'm now making the case to all of my friends why it's important to reinstate your landline. Because when our kids started getting social and started wanting to talk with their friends, I didn't want to give them my phone to talk on it. And we didn't want to give them a smartphone because nightmare fuel. And so we put in a landline again for the first time in almost 10 years. And when we did that, we realized our children had no idea how to answer a phone. And that is a job skill. Like regardless of like what you think about landlines, if you work in any sort of office, you need to know how to answer a landline. And so we realized that we had definitely hampered our children's development by not giving them the opportunity to answer a phone, because it was like a 3-month process of getting them capable of answering a phone without sounding like cavemen. And so I now advocate to all of my friends, and if you have young children and no landline, please install a landline and call it and talk to your children on it, because they do not know how to answer a phone. That is not an innate skill.
You hit it nail right on the head, ball out of the park, all of it. 35 years ago, we're hiring secretaries, and no one had computers.
Yeah.
Secretaries had phenomenal typing skills. And phenomenal, they answer the phone, do all that kind of stuff. Absolutely amazing at it. Ask them to program something into a computer or put payroll in it or account. They were so afraid that they would hit the wrong key and the entire thing would melt down in front of them. And as time went on, those older secretaries picked up those skills. They were great at it. Then we'd hire, interns during the summer, and data entry, no problem.
Yeah.
Typing on a computer, no problem. You wanted to watch them freak out. The first day you told them they had to answer the phone before the second or third ring. And I don't answer the phone. What do I do when I answer it? They freaked out over answering the phone. The one that got them the most locked up, as though that death was coming for them, ask them to type something on a typewriter.
Yeah.
You put this piece of paper in, you roll this up, you get this set, and here's where it's going to be, and you type this in. Because there were certain forms back then that weren't in Adobe.
Yeah.
And you had to type them. You had to pull them out of the spec book. You had to type on them, and then you had to send them back in. It was hilarious that those young interns had the same look of fear about the typewriter that 15 years before older staff had about a computer. It was just because you don't use it. And they were like, no, you'll be fine. Yeah. And then you would have young interns that were project managers, like, you need to call this person. Well, can't I just fax them? No, you need to call them. Can I send them an email? No, you need to call them. Is there a way I could text them? No, you need to physically type. One more thing, I'm going to make you get in a car and drive over and have a face-to-face meeting with.
Right.
That's how you get business done. You don't, a lot of stuff you can do by text today. I get that, but you still have to have that face-to-face. You have to have that interaction. I went down to talk to somebody at a job site today because it was going to be more impactful looking them in the eye, having the conversation with them, than it was going to be calling them, texting them, or emailing them the same information.
Yeah.
Wasn't going to have the impact.
Well, once we got the number, my kids gave it out to all their friends, and their friends gave them their phone numbers. And my son called his girlfriend, and that was like the most awkward phone call you've ever heard. You never would have known that these kids had been like boyfriend and girlfriend for a year and a half, because it was just terrible. And he gets off the phone and he was like, I have now realized I have no idea how to hold a conversation. It's like, it's a very important life skill. I mean, cold calling people. Yes. I remember when I worked at the winery, we had to cold call people that had requested to receive notification when certain wines went on sale. So they had requested the call, but they're not expecting it at all. And so you're just calling them being like, hey, surprise, this wine's on sale. And that was traumatic for a lot of people. The older guys that were retired military, they were fine with it. They would go in and we would get a certain number we had to call. Yeah. They would do theirs. They'd bang them out real quick. But the younger it got in the staff pool that was working that day, the more like trauma it induced, because nobody wanted to cold call anyone. Like, start a conversation? Nah. Even if they could answer it and they were fine with that, starting the conversation was a whole other thing. So that's another thing that having a landline teaches your kids.
Listen, I think it's a great idea. When I get grandkids over there, I'll get the landline back. The reason I got rid of the landline is no one that I knew called me on the landline anymore. Yep. Only salespeople or people that were trying to do a poll or something would call. So I was like, I'm paying to answer their questions. So yeah. I think now it might be safer to have a landline because everybody's trying to call your cell phone.
Oh, that nobody junk calls us.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think they pretty much went, well, no one answers that. It's old people anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The couple of, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, we get a sales call or something. And my kids know, like, if there's a hesitation and then like a crinkle sound on the line, you just hang up. Like, they already know. See, we're training them. Life skills.
I used to have fun with I still do sometimes with the telemarketers. It just depends if I'm in a mood to aggravate them or not. Mm-hmm. It really, there's one group that, because I'm in an elderly demographic, right? Mm-hmm. That they're always calling for these medical tests. And I had a guy on the phone for probably about 4 minutes, just continuing to ask him, well, what exactly is that? Well, do you have this medical condition? Well, I don't know what that is. Could you define that for me? And so he was trying to define that. And every time he'd answer, I said, well, no, I don't have that. And I would just kind of twist it a little bit. And finally, he's like, you're so stupid. You don't deserve this test. I'm like, no, you're so stupid. You stayed on the line with me for 3 minutes. It's a new record.
That's pretty good.
It's like, okay, you want to play this game? I'll play. You're not going to enjoy the outcome, but I'll play. So
my kids dream about pranking one of the sales calls, but they're too scared to do it.
Yeah.
So every now and again, like the other end will hang up. Mm-hmm. And then I'll pretend like I'm pranking the call. Like the line's dead, but they don't know that. And so I'll just like jerk their chain for about 30 seconds and then I'll hang up the phone as well. And then they're like, hilarious.
If I was you and the 3 kids were standing there and then I might say something like, that's right. You say one more word and I'm going to do to my first 4 children. To you. You're never going to live again. And then look at the other kid. No, I'm just kidding. And then you guys are going to bed, right? It's just so funny with the social skills are all wrapped around kind of the time that you were born, right? And I'm sure that, like my grandparents' social skills were completely different based on where they grew up and how they met people. And, there were no telephones. Mm-hmm. When you think of my grandparents growing up without telephones and you had to go see people, you had to go talk to people. Mm-hmm. I mean, we do job site meetings all the time now by Zoom and other things where you can look. A few years ago when FaceTime came out, we had clients that were states away calling my superintendents, put it on FaceTime and let me see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That was great technology because you get that done. In the old days, you had to drive down there. You didn't know if they'd be there when you got there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then maybe they'll be back. I'll wait around a little while. So it's more efficient, but it's also a lot more work every day. We're doing a lot more work than we did before the phones were cell phones.
It's weirdly made front doors almost obsolete because no one's an unexpected visitor anymore.
Right.
Like, I remember my mom sending me out to neighbors' houses to borrow a cup of sugar, or she said she was going to return this to me, go pick it up, whatever. Like, and then I would just go as a kid to some other person's house, like unsupervised, unwatched. And that kind of blows my mind at this point because like, that's just not the way the world is today.
Now when they knock on the front door, you're like, who's at the front door? Is it a solar salesperson
Everyone
again?
hides.
Is someone trying to sell me solar? I get those all the time. People
Solar,
trying to
security
sell
system.
and I talk to them. I'm like, listen, because it's usually like young college guys that just got out of college that are selling solar door to door. And it's a tough job. Like if you want to learn sales, people skills on how to close a sale, do door to door sales for 6 months and you can put yourself immensely ahead of the rest of the market. And I always tell them, I have conversations with them. I'm like, look, I'm not going to buy your solar, but I know your job is tough. Like, what's your sales pitch? Like, how do you do it? And I entertain them, give them some practice. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to buy it, but good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My husband talks to people too.
Yeah, I do.
He'll laugh when he's home and someone knocks on the door. I'm like, all right, everyone stay away from the windows. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, we're not expecting anybody. They didn't text us that they're coming, so it's a salesperson. And he'll go out and talk to them. And the dogs are going crazy because they don't know how to handle it because no one does it.
But that's a dad's job.
Yeah.
And part of it, you're going out there to make sure that the person out there should be there and you shouldn't be beating the crap out of them for not being there, right?
Right, exactly.
I mean, we can say all we want. Oh, we're just going to go talk to him. We're going to help this sales guy. Yeah. But you're really going out there to size them up and let them know if you don't want them on your step, how fast you can get them off your step.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
There's still a guy thing there. So yeah, Louis telling you, oh, it's okay, man, I'm just going to go talk to him. But Louis protecting the family.
Nice.
It's a little guy code.
Good to know.
I just let you into guy code. So
thanks for translating, Mike.
Yes, I did. I don't know how many years you've been married to him, but you were going to figure it out eventually.
Maybe. That's
why we talk to everybody. We're assessing threats all the time as guys.
Yeah.
That's why I have a conversation with people.
That's a Jordan Peterson thing.
Yeah, when I go out to eat, I always request the farthest back where I can have my back against the wall and see the front door.
Yeah.
I just need to be able to assess threats at all times.
So when we were dating, I didn't realize that Louis didn't want his back to the room. And so when we would go and, be offered the table, if I happened to be in front and I picked my seat first, I didn't care. I was just the closest seat. And sometimes that would put him with his back to the room and he would be super uncomfortable the whole dinner. And I didn't know because he wouldn't say anything. And then, you get further in your relationship that he's like, yeah, I'm going to need to switch seats with you.
Well, Darcy will look at me. She'll say, do you want to sit here so you can see the TV? I'm like, no, I'd rather sit here and see the room. I don't really care. I mean, I'm going to get in trouble for watching the TV.
Yeah.
Which isn't going to help me.
That's going to be a lose-lose.
It's not going to help me out at all on our date night. And then if I can't see the room, I'm going to be more nervous about not being able to see what's going on. So, yeah, I mean, all the time somebody say, are you looking at me? Yes, I am. But I'm also, well, what are you looking at over my shoulder? The 4 people that just walked in, and I want to make sure they're all
folks.
okay. I said, I'm doing my job. I'm protecting you.
Yes. Very nice.
Yeah.
100%. That was the first thing I told Jordan when we got a little bit into our relationship and we started going out public places and stuff.
And that's not true. The first thing you told her was, I'm really not as weird as you think I am.
That was probably the first thing. I said, if you can take all this weirdness up front, let me just throw it all out there and you still stay, now we're getting somewhere.
As he stepped out of the ice bath, right?
Yeah, exactly. But no, I told her, I was like, look, when we're in public settings, like there's crazy people out there. I need you to know that if anything were to ever happen, you have one job, scream and run and scream at the top of your lungs. I need help. I need help. Do not try to get in the middle. Do not try to do any of this. I will die. I will take a knife fight for you of one of these crazy people that you say, because she watches TikTok. She sees all the crazy stuff online, And I'm like, your one job is to scream and run and make as much noise as possible.
Call 911.
Call 911, scream and run, go get help. Don't try to step in the middle of anything. Don't ever do that, because that's how bad things happen.
A different version of get help than Thor.
Yes, a different version. Yes. I will defend the threats.
Yeah.
You scream and run.
My job is to die here while you call 911.
Yes, exactly.
That's my job. I have a friend who he's got small kids, several of them. And when they walk into any restaurant or into any store, he'll sit there with them and go, okay, what's the plan if something bad happens? And so these kids from a young age understand, I got to know where the exits are. I got to know that if my dad goes to stop that, I got to get my other siblings out together and we stay together and this is what we do. So, it's unfortunate you have to do that, but it's, people go, oh, we shouldn't live that way. 200 years ago, you had that discussion with the kid. See the furry thing in the yard? That's a bear.
Rendezvous
that
point.
will eat you, right?
Yes.
So if the bear comes in the house, we all have someplace to go. If someone comes to take everything in the house and burn it down, we have someplace to go, right? Bad things happened back then too. It was just a different series of bad things.
Yeah.
It's been like that throughout human history, even when
predators and prey.
Yeah, way back in the day, in order to become a man in your village, you had to go out on the hunt and you had to show that you could support the village and get your first kill and all that.
Yeah.
It's just, we've kind of lost that in society now because life's become so easy that I think men have lost that protective role somewhat. Not all men, but it's definitely more prevalent. Yeah, it's definitely more prevalent now.
I did send you that video the other night. I don't know if you watched it. It was beauty pageant questions in the 50s. Very, very, shall we say, male-oriented questions. So, yes.
So, like, do you know how to work a toaster?
We can watch it at the end.
It was very interesting. You kind of look at it, they go, man. One that you, as a guy today, if you ask that question, that'd be literally they would go to commercial break, and there would be a new host when you came back. So that's it. And then the women today, if you ask that question, a lot of them would just punch you. Right? The answer would have been, "I'm just going to punch you." But back then, the answers from the women were exactly what the guys wanted to hear. Which was,
Can we get back to that? Can we get back to that? I need gender roles back. I need 1950s gender roles back. Let's save America.
There are women in the comments that are about to fight you.
I'm just saying. I mean, was America not a better place back then?
Depends on who.
I think there were certain things that were probably better, and there's certain things that probably were. I don't ever think anything is perfect.
No.
Right? And always when you look back in time, it always is better than you tend to forget the really bad things. You remember the good things, right?
Yeah,
and that's
for sure.
just the nature of human beings moving on and surviving. So I kind of always I think that, but yeah, there was a lot of traditional roles that in the 50s and 60s don't exist today. It's a very, very different lifestyle today.
It really is.
Yeah. But when you go back and watch that old stuff, you're like, they got away with that?
every now and again it goes through Facebook, but there's like photo slideshows of advertising images from the 50s. And it'll be like for a crock pot, and it'll be the husband in a chair and the wife's over his lap. And he's spanking the wife, and it'll be like, dinner will never be late again. And it's crazy. Like the advertisement that was in the 1950s. And it's like, they didn't even mean it the way we would see that today.
Right.
Like,
It was so effective,
legit.
though.
You were allowed to beat your wife because dinner was late. What is that?
Every man went out and bought a crock pot the next day because they didn't want dinner to ever be late again.
So it was effective.
Funny thing about crock pots, though, I was just trying to explain to Clay about like ways that he could save money on DoorDash.
Yeah.
And I was like, just get a crock pot and then you can get a fairly inexpensive piece of meat and slow cook it in the crock pot, like put it in there before you go to a job and it'll be ready by the time you're home. And he's like, nah, that's completely sus. Like, totally sus. It's going to burn down my house. I'm like, it's a freaking crock pot. It's like 50 years of technology where it doesn't just burn down your house. I promise it works. And he's like, nope, completely sus.
See, did he look at you and go, I think a woman invented that, so I can't use that technology? There's no grill involved.
Definitely
There's
did
no
not say
fire
that.
involved.
For all you women that
There
still
has to
have
be
Clay
fire
crushes,
involved.
he did not say that. He just does not believe that it's safe to leave the crock pot cooking when you're not home. Doesn't have faith. He's a crock pot denier.
Listen, I think that's funny. But no, it is interesting. Bobby's asked if I'm mansplaining. No, I'm just kind of telling you what it was like all those years ago when we were little kids growing up. And a lot of it you can watch in the older movies. And it is really interesting when you watch some of those older movies. Some of the things that are said and the attitudes that people have, it's crazy to watch.
There's that John Wayne movie, and the clip has gone viral on social media, and it's like a little boy telling John Wayne he doesn't know how to swim, and he just like tosses him in the water, and the kid's like drowning, and he's like, just come on back to me. And the kid eventually gets his stroke back, and his mom runs over and she's like, he doesn't know how to swim. And she's, oh my goodness. And he's like, he's learning. And like, he holds back the woman. And then she was like, oh my goodness, that's amazing, when the kid starts to swim. And she's like, I don't know how to swim either. And John Wayne looks at her and she realizes what he's thinking and runs off.
That's funny.
But like, that would never happen in a movie today.
So that movie was Hondo. Yeah, so I can tell. And he was not only the kid, he was teaching everybody around him to survive. So he had a dog, and he wouldn't let the kid feed the dog. And the kid said, well, why can't I feed the dog? The dog will starve. He said, well, as soon as you start feeding the dog, it'll stop hunting for itself.
Yeah.
So this was his whole, mindset as Hondo was, you have to live on your own and you have to be able to do all stuff. It's a great movie, though. It's a great movie. It was actually with a fight. That was one of the 3D movies that people went in with the 3D glasses.
I used to love that when I was a kid.
There's a John Wayne 3D movie.
There's a John Wayne 3D movie. Stick with me. You'll learn something today, young lady. There's a John Wayne 3D movie. And it's funny to watch today because it's not 3D, but you can literally tell it was 3D because all the fight scenes have a scene where there's a knife coming right at the camera. And you're like, that was the scene where everybody jumped, right?
Yeah, it's the
You can figure
gimmick.
out the 10 or 12 3D scenes that they had in there. So yes, but it was really, really good.
That's funny.
Great. One of the better, I thought that was one of the better John Wayne movies. In fact, they actually did a TV series on it after the movie was over.
That's cool.
Yeah. So.
I had a friend who really liked, I think it was Quiet Man. And I think that was the first John Wayne movie that I watched of my own volition because my friend liked it so much.
Yes.
And he hauls off and smacks a lady across the face. And I'm like, what just happened? Like, this is not a movie made today.
Well, that movie, Levi hasn't seen it.
And she falls in love with him.
It's set in, she forces him to do some of those things. So that movie was set in Ireland right after the turn of the century.
Yeah.
John Wayne plays a fighter in the United States. He kills a man in the ring. So he goes back to his homeland of Ireland to try to find some peace, falls in love with Maureen O'Hara. They were in a ton of movies together. And in their culture, that in the movie, they're saying that the Irish, there was a dowry involved. Well, John Wayne was rich. He didn't want the dowry. But she felt like he had completely disrespected her because when the brother said, I'm not going to give you the dowry, he didn't fight for the dowry. And the brother's the biggest guy in town. So eventually there's this huge fight between him and the brother. But he takes her back. He says, if this is the way this is going to be, I'm taking you back to your brother and the wedding's off. And she's going to be completely disgraced. And I think he looks at her, she says, well, it's 5 miles to my brother's house. And he's like, it's just a good stretch of the legs. And he drags her 5 miles to give her back to the brother. Brother finally gives him the dowry, and she goes over to the fireplace, opens the hinge on the outside fire, and John Wayne throws all the money in there. She knew he didn't want the money, but she wanted him to go get the money.
It's
and
the
that
principle
started
of the
the whole
thing.
fight. And then the fight lasts another 30 minutes. So yeah. It's a great movie though. Awesome movie.
It's not a 2010, 2020 movie for sure. And I definitely saw it like 2007, and I was kind of surprised.
If you tried to write that today, the wife would be a lawyer. She would sue the brother for the money, and she would win in court, and the husband would still look weak.
I think
that's how you'd write it today if you were writing it.
Well, I mean, so much of the subtext of it is, a man protecting his woman, and that's just not something that Hollywood would make today.
No.
And a man fighting for the honor of his woman, and that's definitely not something that would be in a movie today. But when the movie first started, the love interest, I believe, was the mom in the original Parent Trap. Yeah.
The love interest
in Quiet Man.
I'm not 100% sure of that. I thought there was only one love interest. There was other people who were falling in love.
Mm-hmm.
The brother liked some woman, and they couldn't work that out. There were a couple, but I don't think that there was another love interest.
When was this movie made?
Quiet Man?
I'm going to say probably
I don't even know what we're talking about
1930s.
Okay, yeah.
It's a really good movie.
Not going to watch it.
No, you should watch it.
I go back about 1985 is about as far back as I go.
You are missing some of the best movies.
You really are.
I don't doubt that, but
Maureen O'Hara.
Maureen O'Hara, yeah.
She
was in, I think you're right. She might have been in The Parent Trap.
She was in Parent Trap. She was the mom in Parent Trap.
I think 100%. Who was it?
And she was in Quiet Man. I was right. Haha, fact check true.
Brian Keith was the dad in Parent Trap. Parent Trap. Brian Keith.
Yeah, I never saw him. I struggle to get my household to watch movies that are made before 2005 now. So.
Oh my word!
There's so much good. There's a lot of great storylines in there. The special effects. I tell my kids, if you go to watch any of this stuff and you're looking for special effects, they don't exist in those movies. There's no CGI. There's not a lot. There's a lot more deep stories in it. We did a movie review of Casablanca a few months ago. Mm-hmm. Casablanca is one of the best movies ever written, ever acted. It's a great story. You will not figure out the end of the movie. So if you like these,
I feel like I've seen Casablanca.
So the Guy Ritchie movies today, where everybody's trying to figure out the end, you will not figure out the end of that movie. It is an absolutely phenomenal movie. So yes.
It might be memed enough that he knows the ending.
I don't know, because it's not in the thing. So there's a lot of great ones. There's a John Wayne movie with Jimmy Stewart, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Another great Western.
I've heard that referenced. I've never watched it.
Oh my gosh, great Western. So many great actors in that. Lee Marvin's in it. Lee Marvin's the bad guy. Lee Marvin's a phenomenal bad guy in that. So, yeah, just a great bad guy.
Need to go on my 1940s movie kick.
You do.
There's a lot in there. A lot of those messages that you talked about earlier in the advertising, those messages and those themes are throughout all of those movies.
Messages.
Everybody smoked in them. I don't know
that's wild too.
I mean, everybody's smoking in those movies. It's like every second they're lighting up a cigarette. I don't know how much money the cigarette companies paid the actors to smoke the cigarettes, but every single, you're like, oh my God, they're gonna light up another cigarette. Sometimes I'm watching them today because I'm not a big cigarette. I don't like cigarette smoke. I never liked cigarettes.
Me either.
Never wanted to. It just wasn't.
I've never tried one.
Things. I had a lot of aunts and uncles that smoked, and it just drove me nuts. I love spending time with them, but coming out of their house smelling like a chimney stack or an ashtray just didn't do much for me. And so I didn't like it. But if you watch those movies, there's sometimes I'm coughing. The other one that was not in the 40s that you would love is The Sting. If you haven't seen The Sting with Robert Redford and Paul Newman,
that's good.
Great movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one. You're going to get to the end and you ain't going to figure that one out either.
Okay.
It's a great movie.
I got my movies to watch.
Just challenge you. So yes.
It's fun. They're good movies.
Yes.
They just made movies differently back then, and they were fun and they were smart, and I really enjoy older movies.
I think the dialogue was better. If I can find movies today that have good dialogue, it's always kind of interesting to watch that. I think movies today rely too much on special effects, too much on the CGI, not enough on the storyline.
I would agree.
And then you got to a point in the 70s when they were starting to put sex into movies. And then they just put too much sex in movies. And it was like...
It ruined all of them.
It's like, okay, we get it. You can do this stuff now, but where's the story?
Yeah.
And so you just kind of lost some of that. So I think that, to me, Hollywood's trying to figure out how to tell a story today, because they are so dependent upon those crutches of CGI or today's crutch. I did not watch any of the Golden Globes. I had no desire to this weekend. But you can almost pick out, well, which movie is fringe on which subject that Hollywood is high on, and that's the movie that's going to win.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with, to me, whether the movie's well acted or not. It doesn't check the box that Hollywood is for pushing a Hollywood agenda. And if it pushes that agenda, then it's going to win. If it doesn't push that agenda, it's not going to win. It's not going to get.
Well, you forgot. It has to make the least amount of money because it was so independent and so niche that only the cool kids saw it.
Yep.
And it has to push the agenda.
Oh, heck yeah. All right.
Did you see the new Gladiator?
I just watched it this weekend. I was telling, I don't know if you.
Did you like it?
We rented it on Saturday.
On the Prime, the Prime home
home
theater home movie rentals. That's what I did too.
And I fell asleep because I was starting to get sick. So I came home Monday night. And I said, hey, I think that Gladiator rental was only 48 hours.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, let's eat dinner and then we'll watch it. And I said, well, let me pull this
I'll
up.
fall asleep.
So I pulled the movie up while she was finishing making dinner. It had 6 minutes left. So I hit play. I said, I don't know if we have 5 minutes. I don't know if we get to watch the whole thing. But because we started it,
you get to watch the whole thing.
We got to watch the whole thing. So
I've been there
before.
before.
We're not hitting pause. We're not stopping. So we got the. What did you think of it before I give you my? And you're going to learn that.
That means you didn't like it.
Mike Davis movie reviews are always really fun. So go ahead.
Okay, so I have to preference the original one first, right? I think the original one won 11 awards. It's like one of the highest grossing award movies of all time. Compared to the original one, I don't think it was better. I did think it was good for a sequel. I never expect a sequel to be as good as the original. But with that being said, I thought it had a better storyline than most movies today have. I hate how when they do a movie that's about history and they have the historical facts wrong. That really bothers me. It's like a nitpick of mine. And I hated that they filled the arena with water and sharks. I hated that entire scene.
Well, they did fill the arena with water.
They did not fill the arena with water. I got in a huge debate with this at the house.
The Coliseum?
The Coliseum. They did not.
Amanda, go to work.
The Coliseum was too far from a source of water for them to fill it with water. And they didn't even know sharks existed.
They had viaducts.
They didn't even know sharks existed.
The sharks part, I told Darce that was ridiculous.
But I did like I like Denzel's character in it.
But I'm pretty sure they did fill the Coliseum with water.
Go ahead, tell them, Amanda.
All right. You're going to be mad. So I haven't looked at all the sources, but AI Overview says, yes, the Romans flooded the Colosseum to stage naval battles called the Namachi for public entertainment.
I'm wrong. Well, my Google AI said that they didn't. So which AI is right?
So Atlas Obscura says the Romans once filled the Colosseum with water. The Roman guy talks about Emperor Titus ordered the new Colosseum to be flooded. Then they used special flat-bottom boats during the battle to accommodate.
Like it might have only been flooded this much.
There's a whole.
It wasn't 6 feet
Yeah,
deep.
they used flat-bottom boats, so it wasn't like they just used the actual naval ships. They
Maybe
used,
I
like,
googled the wrong thing. Maybe I
pontoons.
shouldn't have googled like the shark scene
And
being
then
real.
and then
because-
Reddit explains how they filled the Roman Colosseum with water.
That's interesting. I wanted to look into that because I was curious about how they did that. But that's pretty cool. That makes it cooler now. That makes it way cooler. I'm excited that I'm wrong.
and I got the privilege.
Special piping was installed under the floor.
Okay, so give me your movie review.
Amanda, have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
Okay. So I thought I agree with you, for a sequel, it wasn't bad. I thought that they intertwined kind of some of the characters. A lot of the Roman emperors were mad. They were crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the twins, I don't even know. I wanted to look up and I just haven't this week. I've been kind of busy to see if there were twin emperors.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Aurelius was a great Roman emperor.
Yes, he was.
He was amazing and had some great quotes and things that were wonderful. One of his great quotes was, your mission in life, and I'm paraphrasing it, your mission in life is not to end up surrounded by the sane, but to struggle and fight and wander and be surrounded by the insane. right? That if you were in the crowd of everybody telling you this is the way to go, you were in the wrong place. You wanted to be somewhere where everyone said those people are insane. That's where you learn stuff, and that's where you grew. And there was some great stuff. But Russell Crowe was phenomenal in the first one. The fact that Lucius kind of as his son comes back it was all pretty cool. I kept wanting Denzel Washington to be a good guy.
Me too. I found myself wanting him to be a good guy as well.
And I kept thinking, no, Denzel can't be bad. No, Denzel can't be bad. He's done so many good things for the troops. He can't be bad, right?
He's power hungry.
And then eventually I get to the very end. I'm like,
he's been the bad guy in a few roles.
I know, but I said I just didn't want him to be that. I wanted him to be the gladiator's partner that went back to Rome or went back to Africa and came back.
That's who I thought he was going to be.
That's what I wanted him to be. And then when I found out he was just a dirtbag that wanted power, I was like, okay, all right.
But you didn't hate the movie.
I didn't hate it. I thought it was okay. And I think it depicted to a certain degree the violence. When I went to the Colosseum in Rome, I mean, for me as a Catholic, as a Christian, it was a difficult place to walk through. Right? Because you have to think of how many people died there.
Right.
And how horribly the people died there. So architecturally, is it a marvel? Yes. As a place, is it some place where you go to and you go, well, this is just a cool, no. I mean, because there was so much murder that went on there and inhumanity to men. It just, so you kind of walk through it thinking about, I get to walk through this and walk out. But if I had been alive at that time with my beliefs, I would have been going in there to die. Mm-hmm. So it was a hard walk for me to do.
Yeah.
Just in that mindset of thinking, well, historically, what was this like? This was a place where people went to die. Mm-hmm. And so you kind of go around it and you go, okay, architecturally, but it's not.
Right.
It's not a place that you go, I think this is amazing. So, yeah. Yes, Barbara Jean, Denzel is hot. Even I have to agree with that.
Do you want the answer about whether there were twin emperors?
Please.
Yes.
So there's a website. I'll send you the link. IGN.com has an article about the real history involved in Gladiator 2, the movie. So it fact checks the different historical points. So I'm reading from that source. And history tells us that the brothers, so there were twin brothers. They served as co-emperors with their father, Septimius Severus. And upon his death, they shared the throne as twin emperors for less than a year. Caracalla ordered Geta murdered by the Praetorian Guard. Some accounts say that Geta died in his mother's arms, and then Caracalla died a pretty horrific death as well. So, yes, there were twin emperors.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't realize that. I don't know. And is it in the same timeline?
It doesn't say.
I just out of curiosity.
While Gladiator 2 depicts Caracalla being murdered himself not long after his brother, in reality, he reigned for another 2 years alone, when indeed he was assassinated by one of his soldiers. It doesn't really say.
Close. It's pretty close, though.
It doesn't even say.
I mean, they have people that come to the set to help them keep the timeline for these things.
Yes. I don't. Yeah. All right. So the other did I send you the article today too?
The Libs misfire big time?
Yes.
And now that we've spent 50 minutes on movies.
I know. It's so easy to talk about. And we didn't even get to, while Amanda's looking that up, Florida Gators did beat Tennessee last night.
They did. They
Number 8.
Didn't just beat them. They absolutely destroyed them.
Oh, they took their soul. And it was not pretty.
Guess who bet on Florida?
It was, yeah.
Florida's the best team in the country, man. Florida and Duke are the two best teams in the country, in my opinion. And then
I rarely watch Sports Center, but there were 2 highlights from yesterday. One is the Duke player who had an amazing dunk last night. And then the other one, I'm not a LeBron James fan.
But that dunk was phenomenal.
I've never been a LeBron, but the dunk he had last night, left-handed windmill in traffic as a 40-year-old.
Yeah, that's what makes it impressive, is that he's 40.
Yes, I had to give that up. But who are you picking as the Jags coach?
I don't know, dude. I haven't even looked at it. I talked to some people that got rid of their season tickets. I won't name their names, but they've been season ticket holders since 1994. That
was the beginning.
Yeah, 1994.
Yeah.
And they got rid of them because they didn't clean house in the front office. And I saw some information that they were interviewing coaches that are actually turning down the job and didn't even want the interview because they found out they weren't cleaning house in the front office. And we've gone through the same thing over and over and over again. At some point, you just got to get rid of everyone and start over. And I don't think Trevor Lawrence is a bad quarterback. I think if you look at us on paper, we had so much talent on the roster this year on both sides of the ball. It's got to start at the top. There has to be a culture change. And that starts with your head of football operations. It starts with your general manager. It starts with all those positions up there before you even get to a coach. But as far as coaching goes, I don't know who they're going to bring in. I don't know who they can even get to want the job.
Well, and that Reese basically said the same thing. Reese is huge, lives and breathes Jaguar news and what's going on. And I always would go, hey, what's going on with that? But he said the same thing. Keeping the GM.
Yep. What's his name? Balla. It's like B. It's something weird, like
Ballard.
Ballard.
I don't know.
Yeah, something.
There you go. Hey, yes, Amanda was right. But what they basically if there were 12 coaches available, like 8 took their name out of consideration
Yeah,
once
did.
they knew the GM was still going to be
Correct.
there.
Yep.
It was like I don't want to work under him.
Yep.
So that should have been assigned to Shad Khan. I think Shad Khan's a smart guy.
I do.
Reese made the comment that there's some articles that have been written that Shad doesn't know a lot about football, and maybe that when this guy's around, the GM, he makes Shad feel comfortable because he talks about football. And Shad, you can pick anybody. Levi will come talk to you, travel around the world with you to talk football with you. Even go do that European thing that you do with your feet.
I'll take the job.
Yeah.
I'll take the job as GM.
Yeah.
Promise you would have a better record than we did this year.
Yes.
Great.
Kathy had a great, getting rid of the coach is like cleaning the living room and not the whole house.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Rearranging the what is it, deck chairs on the Titanic?
Deck chairs on the Titanic.
Go find the next Dan Campbell. Bring him in.
Well, supposedly one of the coaches from Detroit, maybe it's the offensive
It's the
coordinator.
offensive coordinator, yeah.
The OC, as they say today. The offensive coordinator, the quarterback's coach is Mark Brunell.
Yeah.
And Brunell basically said about a week ago, yeah, this guy wants the job.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, he's going to get a head coaching job next year somewhere.
Well, Reese did. I asked Reese that question. Reese said, and Reese is my source of all this because I don't spend the time researching it like I do politics. But he said that that guy went and had like 5 really good opportunities last year and turned all of them down, and no one could figure out why he turned them down.
He wants to win a championship with the Lions, which they're going to get this year.
Okay. You think they're winning the whole thing?
They're going to beat the Bills in the Super Bowl this year.
You don't think the Chiefs are making the Super Bowl?
I think the Chiefs play the Bills at some point in the playoffs and lose.
Okay. All right. You heard it here first.
I just think
You're
that
gonna break my
Is
daughter's
that your
heart.
parlay? Yeah, you got to have 3 bets. So what's it? You got the Chiefs beating the.
I've got.
the
Here's
Chiefs.
this is the
Here's
3
the
best.
playoff parlay. Let's
Here's
go.
the playoff parlay.
Let's go.
I've got the Lions coming out of the NFC. I've got the Bills coming out of the AFC, and then I've got the Lions beating the Bills in the Super Bowl.
And who's singing the national anthem?
I don't know.
Are they going to sing it correctly?
I know Kendrick Lamar is performing at the halftime show, but I don't really care.
See, now you're getting to the age where you don't care.
Yeah. I honestly thought Beyonce's Christmas Day performance was better than last year's Super Bowl performance.
Who
So
was the Super Bowl last year?
I couldn't tell you.
I quit watching the
Wasn't
Super
it Taylor
Bowl.
Swift?
No,
Oh.
she turned it down.
I made that up.
They
No,
offered
it was
and she turned
Rihanna.
Was it
It was
Usher?
Rihanna. No, that was 2 years ago. Rihanna was 2 years
Yeah,
ago.
Rihanna was 2 years ago.
Usher.
Was it Usher? I think it was
think
Usher.
don't know.
I just-
Who knows?
yeah, I think it was Usher.
I was at the game and I don't even know who it was.
You were at the game.
Yes, I was in Vegas at the game. I don't even remember who it was.
My daughter would have wanted to be with you.
All right. So last story of the day. Don't jump to conclusions until you do your research. And a lot of people do that. And then really the place they do it is on social media. So make sure you do some research. There was a congresswoman sworn in, senator sworn in. Kamala Harris was doing the swearing in. Husband's holding the Bible. After it's over, Kamala Harris shakes the hand of the Republican senator, goes to shake hands with the husband, and the husband wouldn't shake hands. So the first article I saw was a headline on a right-leaning site that said, Senator so-and-so's husband is a total badass because he wouldn't shake her hand. I'm like, I don't know if that makes him a badass. I didn't even read the article. I just kept going on. Then today I'm reading that, oh my gosh, there's all this outrage because the husband didn't shake her hand.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see the initial video, it looks like
It's up on the screen.
he is not shaking her hand. But you have to watch the video from a different angle. So he uses a cane. So in his right hand, he had his cane.
And his left
In
hand,
his left hand, he was holding the Bible. So once the swearing-in ceremony was over, he didn't have a chance to change hands with the Bible or the cane.
Mm-hmm.
He nodded at her. He acknowledged her. She didn't. Vice President Harris didn't get upset, But all these people on the left want this guy tarred and feathered, thrown out of the country, all these horrible things done to him. It's like, just
not
do a
even
little bit of
her.
research.
People are not even him. People are destroying her,
Yeah.
saying, "What kind of woman are you that you allowed your husband to disrespect another woman like that in front of
Yep.
your son?"
Oh,
and
my
so people are
goodness.
tearing into her. They're tearing into him. It's bad.
Welcome to social media.
Yeah.
And it's like, slow
internet.
down. You don't know. You've just proven to everybody that read your post, you don't do enough research. You don't take the time to actually look at things and figure stuff out, and that you jump to conclusions. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but my friends that jump to conclusions are never the ones I call and ask for advice.
Yeah, that's true.
I never call them.
So
I'm like,
here's the picture of the lower angle where you see one hand's holding a Bible, one hand's holding a cane. So people are like, which hand was he supposed to shake with?
yeah.
I guess he's supposed to fall over and catch himself on her.
Right?
Then it would have been another whole scandal.
Yeah.
Right. Look at what he's doing to the vice president. So I think that's part of the problem with social media today is that some people, there's this urgency to be first, which the news used to have that. And it still does to a certain degree because they'll run with stories, right? I remember 4 years ago, the Covington kids. Everybody had these kids convicted of being horrible
Oh, yeah.
white teenagers.
I've never seen a more slappable face, one of my friends
And
said.
when you went back and looked at the entire video, he was being about as polite as he could be, and he did not start the altercation, and he didn't know how to get himself out of it. And CNN made him a rich kid.
Yep.
So
Unintentionally.
well, they've done a lot of things unintentionally.
Yeah.
Like the intentional thing that CNN has done is skewed the news the last 20 some years. So
For sure.
Yeah, now Elon's catching hate for not being an open free speech platform. Have you heard about this?
well, I've heard that Meta, and I'm going to watch our numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And look, I want to go to Rumble. And I can tell you this right now. I know that Facebook has censored this program because of some of the topics that we have been on.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a whole lot of use for the censorship platform within Facebook. It's easy for people to comment. It's easy for us to post to it, but I think it's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And, when I heard there was one of the higher ups on Facebook, Meta, was talking to the Fox and the Friends morning show. I was listening to on the way in, and I thought, this is the biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever heard. You threw out about 7 or 8 catchphrases, rebalancing. We're going to rebalance this. No, you finally have been caught cheating. You now are reading the tea leaves that the majority of Americans don't like you for cheating. You've watched X take off as far as being a more popular platform, and all you're trying to do is catch back up with that. How long it lasts, I don't know, but I don't trust any of you.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah.
You have power over us and we don't have any control over it. There's no oversight board. Florida Power and Light has power over us. AT&T has power over us.
Mm-hmm.
There's a public service commission in every single state to oversee them. There should be a public service commission to oversee this stuff in every single state. Because this is a platform. It's supposed to be a free speech platform. I'm all for that. But there's, they said, we need guardrails. They didn't want guardrails. They wanted leftist guardrails.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were on the right, if you had an opinion they didn't agree with, especially if it had to do with COVID, you were censored.
Well, if there was a
That's
public
bullshit.
service board to oversee them, the public service board would see them selling all our data that they've been doing and using our data for so many years.
Yeah.
And then that would come to an end. And that's their whole business model.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? There's, oh man, I can't think. There's a name for it. It's a certain capitalism. But it's capitalism.
Crony capitalism?
No. It's a new version. It has to do with them stealing. They get you on a platform. They steal all your data. They sell all your data.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's a name for that type of capitalism. I just can't think of it right now. But that's the mode we're in right now. Is every time we use this, somebody makes money off of us because they
Yep.
get to sell what we went and researched.
Yep.
I love the fact that I can come up with the most outrageous search I've ever wanted to find.
Mm-hmm.
And the next 8 ads will be that.
Yep.
I mean, I went out and bought an ice bath. The next 8 ads that I got on Instagram were for the same ice bath I bought.
Wait, you got an ice bath?
Just
I did.
having that conversation with you, I now get Ice Pod ads on
Yes.
my Facebook
Yep.
because I had
I
the
love
conversation with
Are you joining my team?
I'm joining the team. I've
Let's
always
go.
kind of been in
Have
the
you been
team.
doing it?
Well, last year, Sal Rapero has one, so we would go swim.
Yep.
get our surf training in, and then go get in the ice bath during the summer. If you go swim this time of year, it's a free ice bath because the water temp's about anywhere from 57 probably to 60, 62, depending on the day and the wind and rain and all that stuff.
You got to be below 50 degrees, man.
But if you're
you got to be below 50.
Yeah, 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Trust me, my feet are still cold from last week. My feet are still cold. No, I don't. You get in the ice bath for how long?
3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, 3 to 5. I'm good with 3 to 5.
At 48 degrees.
I want to say most of the time it's about 50 when we're in. So
Yeah, you get if you go read like the peer reviewed papers on it from the studies they've done, the water, it doesn't matter if it's 35 degrees, 45 degrees, 47 degrees, as long as it is below 50, you're getting the benefits from it.
Yes.
So 49 degrees is perfectly fine at 3 minutes, and 3 to 5 minutes, you're getting all the benefits you need. And it doesn't even need to be every day. It's 11 minutes a week.
Okay. 2.5 times.
Yeah. 11 minutes a week. And then for the sauna, it's the studies and the science shows about 57 minutes a week in the sauna at 160 degrees Fahrenheit.
I got 40 the other day. So, neo-capitalism. No, it's not. I'm trying to think what is surveillance capitalism. Surveillance capitalism.
Well, we're almost done.
It took me a minute.
We're almost done, and I have a question for you guys.
Ask away.
How do you feel if we acquire Canada and Greenland?
I'm not so good about Canada. I'll just be honest with you. They're more liberals in Canada.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that Canada doesn't swing the Senate in a way that I don't want to.
Just not the way you want.
I can't take you kids anywhere.
There's a lot of oil in Canada.
Yeah, there's a lot of natural resources, no doubt. There's not a lot of people. There's a lot of room up there, but their policies and their the censorship that they did, their gun control issues do not mesh with where I think American
they handled
values
COVID terribly.
Oh yeah,
it was terrible.
Yes, they're handling a lot of other things terrible.
They are. I agree.
Yeah. Canada, no.
So about Greenland,
love Greenland. Let's get Greenland. Now here's what someone told me today. It would never happen. I said, well, here's the thing you have to watch, because I've read a little bit.
Who has Greenland? The Danish have it right now.
Well,
right?
But there's an agreement with the people of Greenland. If they want their freedom, there's a way for them to ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is just watch how this plays out over 6 months. If 6 months to a year from now, the people of Greenland have not started that process, then they don't want to be U.S. citizens.
Yeah.
If they start that process, then they want to leave Denmark and become U.S. citizens. So just watch how the people of Greenland react. And they're all like, we want our independence, we want our independence. If I was Greenland, I'd be like, hell yeah, I want to be in America.
Yeah.
I want all this other stuff. So it's a phenomenal, again, resource rich. Strategically, it's a very important place. If the Arctic is going to become a battlefield, which it probably will, the Russians and Chinese are trying to ramp up their forces there.
Mm-hmm.
If global warming is true, which I'm not 100% a believer in that, but if it is and the Arctic Circle becomes passable, then having a force and bases and deterrence there becomes critical. If the Arctic freezes back over in 10 years, like I think it's going to, then it's still a strategic place.
Do you know what the real reason we want Greenland is, or what I believe the real reason is?
I think it's mineral resources.
I think that plays a part.
Yeah.
I think it's for Bitcoin mining farms.
Okay.
So in order to mine Bitcoin, it requires a lot of energy and a lot of cooling down, massive cooling down.
Well, those servers need to get cooled down. Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah. So you can build a sustainable Bitcoin mining farm to build a Bitcoin reserve for the U.S. In Greenland, and it's very economical there because of the cold temperatures year round.
Yeah, but and my thing is, like, you can build that there, but when you concentrate all of one thing, no matter what it is in one place like that, it's just one nuke bomb to take it out. So
yeah, that's true.
I just, so
unless you build them underground.
So I just look at
the cheapest way to do it would be to have them underground because they're insulated and cooler temperatures. So my take is I'm fine with Canada and Greenland as long as they're territories. I don't want them to be states.
Okay.
I'm fine with territories, not
Puerto
states.
Rico.
Yeah.
Look at you.
So we get the resources, but we don't have to worry about popular vote issues.
Yes.
Cool. If they can have a 4% tax like Puerto Rico, maybe I'll move to Greenland. I'll become an Eskimo.
Bye, Levi.
It's too damn cold up there.
It's cold.
I don't want to be up there in the cold, but no.
It's cold. You can see the northern lights a lot.
I know. You get to see the northern lights.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
You could summer in Greenland.
I also think the whole Greenland Canada thing is Trump has learned I've got to distract
Yeah.
some of the media on the left. So everybody's talking about this. And so they're not talking about Hegsketh. They're not talking about RFK Jr.
Yeah.
anymore. They're not talking about what Trump's going to do in the first 20 days. They're so busy on this, they can't. So yesterday he threw another one out.
Gulf of America.
Gulf of America. And so I thought this is another classic Trump of throw something out there, watch the media run around like chickens with their heads cut off for a couple of days, and all this other stuff continues to move on.
He should have gone for broke and just said Gulf of Melania, and that way the initials stay the same. And then it would have been like, oh, he's a total imperialist emperor, blah, blah, blah. And so he should have just gone for broke.
Tomorrow on the show, we're doing other things Trump should rename. So tomorrow is other things Trump should rename.
Yeah.
I have 2 or 3 right now that I think are awesome, and I'm holding them till tomorrow. So
All right.
yeah.
Awesome.
All right, Levi, welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes.
You need to watch some older movies. It'll be good for
Oh,
you.
yeah, I do.
I'm getting in an ice bath for my own health, for your
love
own
it.
mental health. You need to watch some of these older John Wayne movies.
do
You
it.
miss gender roles. These movies are just chock-a-block full of gender roles.
Perfect. I'm going to make my girlfriend watch them with me.
Yes, if
I
you're
was so misogynistic, I'm going to make her.
Sorry. I had to fit the mold.
seems like you don't need to watch them. All right, this is the
halfway
Mike
there.
Davis Show. We'll see you guys tomorrow
See you
night.
guys.
Bye.